In the 18th century, the French made plans to invade Britain numerous times. For instance, they looked to aid the Jacobites during the wars of the Austrian and the Spanish succession, and they made further plans during the 7 Years' War, and again during the American Revolutionary Wars. And in the early 19th century, of course, Napoleon looked to invade Britain. But in 1797, during the War of the First Coalition, a small French force did land here in Wales. Now, the initial plan was to send a large force to Ireland to aid the Rebellion United Irishmen, a rebellion that would kick off the next year, while two smaller forces would act as sort of diversions. One was to land here in Wales and the other in Newcastle. They hoped they could gather supporters on the way, but poor weather and borderline mutinous soldiers prevented this invasion from ever taking place. However, one Irish American named William Tate did manage to muster together a small army of 1,400 men and landed in Fishguard in Wales. However, most of the invasion force was made up of irregulars and convicts, and many of them just left the army to loot the surrounding region. So the local Welsh were able to arm themselves and unite with the local militias and repel this invasion force, and this was the last time that Britain was invaded by a foreign force. Before you go off and create a whole bunch of alternative history scenarios, I want to share with you one more far more likely invasion attempt. Well, invasion attempt may be the wrong word, but I'll explain. 1215, the Barons' War erupted when King John contended with the newly created Magna Carta, and on the continent he was fighting the French for control of Normandy. The rebelling barons just invited the future King Louis VIII of France to become King of England, and this wasn't that shocking to contemporaries as what it would be today. After all, many of the English kings then, like Richard Lionheart, lived primarily in English domains in what is now France and spoke French, and the two crowns were often linked dynastically. So Louis arrived in England and was proclaimed king in London, apparently to a very welcoming crowd. But the next year King John died, and his heir was just a young boy. Many of the barons didn't perceive Henry III to be a threat, so just switched sides and fought Louis out of England. But had King John survived for a few more years, we could very well have united England and France back then.